the new MyLowe's Pro Rewards American Express card, earn 3 points per dollar spent on Lowe's qualifying purchases for the first 6 months after card account opening. Plus, save 5% every day on eligible purchases at Lowe's and earn points on eligible purchases everywhere else Amex is accepted. Card members get more at Lowe's. Subject to credit approval. 5% can't be combined with any other offer. Exclusions and restrictions apply. Points subject to loyalty terms at Lowe's.com/terms and credit reward terms at Synchrony.com/MLPRA-terms. Visit Lowe's.com/business credit.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to Orioles on the Verge. This is Zach Spedden, joined as always by Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens. On tonight's episode, we're going to break down the Orioles' 7-3 homestand and the success of Brandon Young this season and look at this team and figure out whether or not they are perhaps coming out of the rut that they got into in the middle of May. But first, this episode is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack, hydration, and coffee sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom coffees are the delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way to try all IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ bars, 8 IQ Mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. All IQ Bar products are clean label certified and entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial ingredients. All IQ Bar products are packed with clean, delicious ingredients that keep you physically and mentally fit, like magnesium, lion's mane, and more. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQ Bars, brain-boosting body bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. Their Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. IQ Bars become part of my daily routines, whether it's starting my morning with IQ Joe, grabbing an IQ Bar or IQ Mix to refuel or rehydrate after a hard workout. And right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64,000. Text MLB to 64,000. That's MLB to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. And before we get started with this episode, as we like to do at the top of every episode, we want to welcome a new member to our Patreon community. And right now is a great time to become a patron, which I will let Bob explain as he introduces our newest patron.
Yeah, after we record this live stream tonight for our patrons, we are updating our top 50 for June, as we do at the first of every month during the season. So that should be a lot of fun. And yeah, thank you, Daniel Park, Postmaster Dan in the Discord. Another one. We got him. Hopefully you're delivering JT Real Muto's mail. No problems up in Philly. Love it when a mailman comes on board. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoy the content.
Absolutely. And now we'll get into the topic of tonight's episode, which is the Orioles' successful 7-3 homestand. And overall, the month of May was not kind to the Orioles, but they certainly ended it on a high note, making the most of a 10-game homestand that saw them start things off by taking 2 out of 3 from the Detroit Tigers before sweeping the American League East leading Tampa Bay Rays, and then splitting a very competitive series with the Blue Jays that could have easily been at least 3 out of 4, if not a sweep, but the Orioles in the end get the split, winning in walk-off fashion on Saturday before routing their way to a 9-5 win on Sunday. And we saw a lot of highlights in this homestand. We go through the individual performances. Colton Cowser getting hot to plate. Kyle Braddis putting together yet another excellent start. And as we're going to get into a little bit more later on, Brandon Young having a high note so far in his MLB career by striking out a career-high 7 batters in his start against the Blue Jays on Saturday. And he's been a really key force in a rotation that is getting better of late. The Orioles still are in a little bit of rough shape overall when you look at their starting rotation, but over the past 9 games, the starters have combined for a 2.26 ERA. And through 6 innings on Saturday, Trevor Rogers looked like he was back to form. So, Nick, I'll start with you here. I think that we know this Orioles team still sitting at 28-32 has some work to do. But did you take much encouragement from this past homestand?
Yeah, I mean, it feels. I just want to relish in the moment right now. To be honest, it feels really good to get on here on a Monday night, our regular Monday night show, an off day after an impressive stretch. The mood is better. I feel like all the way around. I don't have to sit here and muster up the slightest bit of energy after a week of watching the big league team kind of continue to crumble. And God forbid we post a highlight of some kid in high A doing something good, and then the first 5 mentions are people wishing the demise of a certain front office member, and the next 5 people asking if that kid can pitch, even though it's a hitter, because that joke hasn't been said a million times. It's really good to just be able to get on here and talk about the Orioles winning. And to see, I think last time I checked, the Detroit Tigers were having their home run derby against the Rays. So maybe an opportunity to gain a little bit more ground here on the off day, which couldn't be better. But yeah, the 7-3 homestand was phenomenal. This team did the thing everyone was hoping for. Everyone kept saying, one good week, one good week, one good week. And you got 10 games at home. And I had said that up to this point, this team really had shown zero capabilities of being able to do this, put together that strong week and get right back into the thick of this cluster we'll call the American League right now. And to win that series against the Tigers, that was one thing. That's a team that is on the downswing. They are really struggling this year. That was something you needed to do, and they did it. But to sweep the Rays in Florida after they just embarrassed you and their park, like, I think that's the type of performance that, if this season continues to go in the right way, and if at the end of the year we look in this is a playoff team, like, could that be the series where we look back and say that's where this thing got turned around? Not to get too far ahead of ourselves there, but yeah, I don't know. Like, we'll dive into specific players and things, but overall, like, it felt. I'm not fully confident that this was like the beginning of some magical turnaround yet. They do still have 6 more on the road against AL East teams coming up, and then it's 16 games against West teams. So, and a lot of that is going to be on the road. Was that 9 or 10 game road stretch there against the Angels, the Mariners, and the Dodgers. So I want to see how this team performs in this home and home West Coast series here, but it just feels good right now to be sitting where they are. It's June 1st. We are past Memorial Day. Believe it or not, we are closer and closer to being at the halfway point of the season, and this team is 1 game back right now of a playoff spot, despite all the injuries and poor performance from that first month. It's optimism is, dare I say, in the air right now.
It really is quite a difference. And hey, it took some unbelievable heroics to get us to this 7-3 homestand, to get to this point, but I'll take it, because even Mr. Optimistic in me and us, I mean, we're pretty close to writing the eulogy on the 2026 season, and then the homestand comes and walk-off homers in back-to-back days, and then 2 outs away from going down 3-0 to the Blue Jays, and they miraculously come back. Jeff Hoffman, kisses to you, and win that game, and then take care of business on Sunday to get the split and the 7-3 homestand. Yeah, I couldn't. What a difference a week or two makes, because, like I said, I was ready to just shovel the dirt on the season once more and say, let's fire Sal away. Let's make some changes and try to figure this out. Well, luckily, you have a really good manager. I don't know, maybe game decisions and here and there, he's a rookie manager, going to make mistakes, what have you. But you can't deny that he's got his team, his players fired up and never giving up in a game. I think you can credit Pete Alonso, the veteran presence who's been here before. He seems into the game all the way through. Yeah, he might got picked off in one game, but he's going to own it, and he's always going to play with the fire of a veteran that has been there before, and it shows. I think, Taylor Ward, Mr. Consistency, getting on base, but that 7-3 homestand, what it does for me is, instead of, oh gosh, if they lose this series, I think here's the things that could go wrong. Well, now I'm thinking, well, if Gunnar gets hot and Holiday continues to progress and Mayo and Kowsler continue playing the way they have, plus Basayo being one of the best bats in the majors in the last month or so, you start thinking of where things can go right instead of where things can go wrong. And at this point, just get us to the trade deadline in a position to be buyers and make a run at this thing. The AL is down. Even if we squeak into that last wild card spot, I believe in the talent on the team and even the pitching. It's coming, some Brandon Young, he's having an amazing start. You can't always expect him to keep up what he's doing the whole season, but some guys are going to come back to earth. Some guys are going to positively regress. And let's just get there and see how the cookie crumbles. We had high expectations going into the playoffs before. Let's see what happens when you have a little bit lower.
What I kept thinking at various points this homestand, and it really hit home for me in the win on Sunday, because it's like, all right, that puts the icing on the cake. 7-3 homestand. The lineup looks fantastic. Kyle Braddis had another great start. For me, I feel like now I'm watching the team that I expected to see at the beginning of the year. Great lineup that can go toe-to-toe against any lineup, frankly. A starting rotation that, while far from perfect, is at least going to keep you in games. It's not going to cost you a lot of games. Bullpen has some rough patches, but overall you can find guys that can get outs for you in big spots. And then your defense isn't great, but if everything else is working, I think at least in the regular season, you can work around having a bad defense to some extent. If you're scoring a lot of runs and your pitchers are limiting the damage after mistakes are made in the field. To this point in the season, the Orioles had not been doing that, but I saw a lot more of that this past week, and that had me encouraged. And if you focus on individual performances, I think seeing Colton Cowser perform the way he did this last homestand was really key. And it's interesting because you look at his April, which was terrible, 186, 489 OPS. But then with that last stretch of games included, he actually put together a really solid month of May. Yes, 10 fewer plate appearances than he had in April and March, but he hit 275s and 891 OPS, belted 4 homers. Overall, the numbers still have a long ways to go, but I felt like he looked closer to the hitter that we've seen when he's been at his best. I think Pete Alonso is progressing, coming along, starting to look more like himself. And yeah, if Gunnar can get hot, and I think we saw some flashes of that this past homestand, that's going to go a long way to making his team better. And Kobe Mayo, credit to him. He continues to put in the work at third base to get better defensively, and now the bat is starting to come around too.
That was my biggest frustration a couple of weeks ago. It was the hitting. I mean, pitching, you expect Bradish, really, essentially 2 missed years there with the surgery. Boz, that wasn't, the Trevor Rogers long-term play, like that trade. You're expecting Shane Boz to excel this year, but time to settle into his new organization. The pitching thing, I can shake off for a little bit longer, but it was the lineup that just infuriated me to no end. And the numbers. So coming into this 10-game homestand, I did the splits here real quick. Coming into the season, this Orioles team was hitting 233. That was 22nd in the majors. A 99 WRC plus. That was 16th. All right. 14th in home runs, 22nd in stolen bases. They were 7th in walk rate, so they were walking. I think a lot of that was probably Taylor Ward. But they had the 3rd worst strikeout rate in the major leagues, behind the Angels and the Rockies. 2 just amazing lineups you want to be associated with, right? In that 10-game homestand, they had the 6th best average in baseball. They had 268. They had the 5th best WRC plus, 2nd best walk rate, and they had now went from 3rd worst strikeout rate to the 3rd best strikeout rate in the big leagues. And look what happened. You win ball games. And even that one game that they blew was that game 2 against the Blue Jays. Even that, I will say, that's the kind of game where they shoot themselves in the foot that we kept seeing over and over and over again at the beginning of this year. That was another point in this 10-game homestand to have that series against Tampa Bay where you sweep them, and then to lose that opening game versus Toronto. Okay, fine. All right. You got 3 more games, but then to shoot yourself in the foot again and lose game 2, to bounce back and win the final 2 in the fashion that they did, that adds to the hope that is dangerously starting to fill the air a little bit more. Like, they can do it. Thank you for showing me that you can do this. This is all I wanted to see. And yeah, Cowser, just unbelievable, man. The guy had a 241 WRC plus during this homestand. Just absurd. And yet Taylor Ward did not have a good homestand. He had a 48 WRC plus. He had just 205. Adley Rutschman cooled off. He only hit 194 during this homestand. But Cowser picked it up. Blaze picked it up. Kobe, in his limited run, I know he had the injury there, but he picked it up when he was healthy. He hit 333. Basayo, Tavares hit 343. Jackson Holiday looks good and showing some power, which is fun. I know that one home run just squeaked over, but a home run is a home run in my book. If he's going to continue to get healthy, and I haven't heard anything else about the hand and being a problem, and no more quotes about the hand pain, so hopefully he's starting to feel better. yeah, it's the big thing now, and I don't want to harp on Gunner. We've all said our little piece there, but that is kind of the last little piece there. Like, if Gunner gets it together, here we go. This is now you're in that position. If Gunner can get it together, again, he had 3 home runs and he tied for the team league in RBIs in this home trip. But if he can get it together more consistently, like, he is going to help take this lineup to a place where they can strike. They stay in that position. You need some point over the next month or two to like vault yourself up, get over that hump, which they haven't been able to do. And I think, not to put too much pressure on Gunner there, but I think he needs to rise up here and help lead the charge in that area. But yeah, at least the rest of this team, even when Taylor Ward's going to have a slump, that's okay. Look what he did the first 2 months of the season. 1 bad week, 2 bad weeks isn't going to kill him. But to see everyone else pick up the slack, it was a thing of beauty, to be honest.
And honestly, I got to give the team credit to being able to make adjustments on the fly during the season, because last year they were not able to do that. Or if they did, it was way too late at that point. And despite the injuries, I mean, Ryan Helsley is out still. Dean Kramer is out. There's a lot of Cade Povich. I mean, it's still a huge injury list that we're dealing with here, but they're making the adjustments. I think I saw Andy Koska from the Banner, our buddy, friend of the show. I think he had something about how they're going from group hitting meetings to just individualized planning. Maybe that has something to do with the changes. I know Kowser had added a leg kick, and since that point, his numbers are much, much better. So maybe you just got to be patient. You got this new coaching staff, new manager. At least they're willing to evolve and change things on the fly, which I do not. I think they might have had their head a little bit in the sand last year, and it was too late before they could do anything. But like I said, to their credit, they're making the changes and they're making it work. If we get back to 500, I'd love to never look back again. Never be on the downside of that again.
Didn't Alvarez talk about that though? Like after he was hired, like that being a focus of like one-on-one instruction and things like that. So it's just, I don't remember the exact quotes or anything, but that's just something that just clicked in my head. Like, that's surprising that clearly they weren't doing that up to this point. Now they're switching.
Maybe it was always planned to start as a group thing to get everyone on the same page and then transition to that. I don't know if it was like a cause and effect thing, but hey, I mean, something started working. Let's keep it up.
Yeah, and just to point out something else that Andy wrote that I think speaks volumes about some of the good work that this coaching staff is doing right now. I just read a piece that he published, I believe this afternoon, about how Mitch Plasmeyer has actually been helping Buck Britton and Miguel Cairo work with Kobe Mayo and his throwing motion. So when you see that kind of collaboration between 2 infield coaches and one of your pitching coaches to help get a guy's throwing motion right, I think that speaks volumes about how they're able to work together. Now, let's go over to Brandon Young, speaking of pitching. On Saturday, he posted a career-high 7 strikeouts in a no decision against the Blue Jays. And in what has been a pretty good season for Young so far, this might represent a high point. He went 6 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs on 7 hit, and those 7 strikeouts were paired with just 1 walk. On the season so far, Young has a 3.35 ERA to go to 4.31 FIP with 33 strikeouts to 17 walks across 43 innings pitched. And something else that we've learned recently is that he modified the grip on his splitter, and that pitch has become a much more effective weapon for him than it was last year. And I think that what Young is doing is coming at a really pivotal point for the Orioles, because as we've talked about before, having him in the rotation this early in the year and having him get this many innings this early in the year was not part of the plan for the Orioles. But Zach Eflin goes down, Dean Kramer goes down, Cade Povich goes down, and someone has to pick these innings up. And credit to Brandon Young, because not only has he done it more than capably, but he's been one of the Orioles' steadiest starters over the course of this season.
To me, it's just what, I'm not going to say what we expected him to be, but at least what we knew he was capable of, because to me, he was always going to be the new Dean Kramer. Like, as one Dean Kramer fades away, another one comes rising to the surface. I think they're fairly similar pitchers, especially now that the splitter he's got going. And he might even have a slightly more upside than Kramer, although the age when they debut, it's up for debate. But his Dean Plus right now is probably 100 to 105, and you got to like that for a guy in his second year. And people just have to be patient with these pitching prospects. it takes time to adjust to the majors. Just even the demeanor on the mound. When he was up last year, you could just tell as soon as he faced any adversity whatsoever, the nerves start going. He doesn't look comfortable on the mound. Things start going wrong. It's like a snowball rolling downhill, and it just gets worse and worse. Well, this year you have some success. You have some good games last year you can reflect on, get some confidence, and then you start pitching like the pitcher you can be. And yeah, he's making adjustments. I think this is something that the Orioles pitching development has been really, really good at. We've noticed it in the minors, but we're starting to see it at the majors, at least with the younger guys, is they're adding pitches during the season. They're making adjustments. They're not going to just say, all right, we're set. This is what we got to work with. Let's do it. It's great to see. He's probably more naturally closer to a 4 ERA if you look at like the underlying metrics, but I don't know. The strikeout total has been pretty good the last 2 games with the new splitter, so maybe this is who he's going to be, but it's awesome to see. Knew he had it in him, and I'm glad. I'm not glad that all these injuries made the Orioles need to use him like this, but I'm glad that he's had an opportunity to step up to the plate and show what he's got.
I mean, what he's done is massive. And to see it, like you guys mentioned, he was supposed to be in AAA even right now. Him and Povich were supposed to be leading that AAA Norfolk rotation. It's supposed to be Bradish, Boz, Rogers, Eflin, Kramer, Bassett, some combination of those guys, right? But I've always really hated this, like when people say like, just throw them in the bullpen and the stuff will play up. They'll be better. You'll be able to get more out of them. But coming into the year, I really did feel like maybe that's the path for Brandon Young this year. Is like, if you need another relief arm, maybe that relief arm could be Brandon Young. I truly did feel like, just given his profile, given his pitch mix, I think maybe 2 inning splits. If he can go 3, he can easily give you 3 innings. Maybe he could be a bigger asset for you in that way. And he's also, you mentioned the age, like he's 20, how old is he? He's 27, 28 now. He's a 2-time Tommy John guy. Like, yeah, he flashed a little bit last year, but could you realistically, coming into the year, do you realistically see him being like a major contributor to this rotation? Could he be that next Dean Kramer? Maybe. I'd say like 50-50 odds. I think the way I viewed it, maybe I could see it, but I think it's a little tough for me to see, to be honest. And I say this as a massive Brandon Young fan. I said the day the Orioles signed him, that's a future big league arm. Like, I was so into Brandon Young's profile as he was coming up to the system. But right now, what we're seeing is like, this is what good teams need to do. You squeeze every ounce of value you can out of a guy. You take a guy like Brandon Young, who isn't solidified in the major leagues. There are big question marks about what he can do. Who exactly is he? And to be able to create this type of pitcher that they have now and get the results that they're getting out of him right now, this is what good teams do. And so when they need him to step up the most, he's doing that. And if, again, not to get ahead of ourselves, but going back to like what I said about that Rays series, if this team finds its way into the playoffs this year and Brandon Young continues to pitch, he doesn't have to continue to lead the team in ERA, but continue to be an asset to this organization. Like, Brandon Young is going to be a major reason why the Orioles get to that point. I don't think I'm like even overblowing that, because you just ran off all the injuries there. This team, all that depth they had was decimated. And here, Brandon Young, and as we waited for Bradish and Boz to pick it up and get things going, and as we wait for Trevor Rogers to turn things around, here comes Brandon Young stabilizing this thing, which none of us saw coming. But if you look, though, and I go back to 2020, put your mind back in 2024, when you think about Albert Suarez for a moment, not modern day Albert Suarez. You look at Brandon Young's numbers right now and Albert Suarez's numbers in 2024, when he had that breakout fantastic year, almost identical. Like, legitimate. And you talked about the estimators there. It's like, yeah, he might be like a 4.5 ERA pitcher. It is a 3.35 ERA right now, a 4.3 expected ERA, 4.31 FIP, 4.90 xFIP. He's a fly ball pitcher who, like, the expected average, expected slug, all of that says he's overperforming right now. But I mean, you look, Albert Suarez found success with almost the same identical, like, fly ball numbers, ground ball numbers, the ERA estimators. Albert Suarez walked a lot fewer guys, but not incredibly high strikeout rates. Even if Brandon Young turns his 2026 season as Albert Suarez's 2024 season, like, hallelujah. And even if it's only just for this 1 year you get it, that could be massive. I do agree. I think we'll see. Like, what is that ceiling? Is there more there? Could there be a longer stay in the major leagues compared to what we saw from Albert Suarez post 2024? Potentially. This new pitch should help a lot. We'll see how the next couple of months go, but just compare those two guys' numbers and you'll see just very similar pitchers, which, like I say, that very complimentary of Brandon Young's performance this year.
Hey, Brandon Young's 28. He's not 38, okay? So we might see a little more longevity there. No, it's interesting. It's very interesting. But his velo is up a tick, or at least a half tick to a tick this year. And yeah, that new splitter, that'll determine whether he is Albert Suarez 2.0, 3.0, or something else.
And with that, now we will head into our final segment of the night. Last call brought to you by Checker Spot Brewing.
Could we, as Cameron Weston supporters, talk about his Major League debut before we get into that final segment?
Yes, we should. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, Cameron Weston getting the bump up to the major leagues this week, and that was fantastic to see. Congratulations to him getting a strikeout in his debut outing against Toronto. It's been interesting to follow Weston's career because he's one of those guys, as we've talked about before, broad pitch mix, but there's always been questions about how the fastball is going to play. This year at Norfolk, he has really taken a big step in the right direction. Strikeouts are up, walks are down. It does look like the Orioles are trying to develop him as a reliever at this point, but we know that he can give you length out of the bullpen. I don't know what we're going to see from him in terms of major league outings this year, but coming up and pitching the way he did in his debut was impressive, and hopefully it's not the last we see of him in the majors this year.
He's on the 40-man now. He's got 3 option years. I think we're going to see him quite a bit over the next few years. I loved what I saw in his major league debut, not just the results, but that sinker had some serious arm side movement. I think 20 inches on average in his debut. Might not always be that great, but if he can sustain that, Alex Fast said on Twitter that it would be the best sinker movement in baseball, and combine that with his sweeper cutting in the other way, and we know he's got a good changeup as well. I can see where they're going with him as a reliever. Might not be a starting pitching prospect anymore, but I really like his upside especially the next few years, as an up and down reliever that can give you multiple innings. It was awesome to see his mom in the stands. She's been a big supporter of him and honestly of this podcast. So it was cool to see a great moment, getting a strikeout and then a double play.
Yeah. It's one thing to see the Basayos and the Mayos and the Westbergs and, all these guys make their MLB debut, guys who we are hoping that they're regulars in the big leagues for a long time. But even Cameron Weston, even if his peak is he's an up and down guy over these next couple of years that you have him under team control, even if that is his peak, then I still enjoy watching these big leagues debuts, honestly, a little bit more, just because to see he was an 8th round draft pick, 8th round draft pick out of Michigan. He's not a small school kid. It's a school up there in Michigan, but still, his career started out pretty slowly, and then it was only 2 years ago he finally gets his first full season. It took a while, but he finally gets that first full season, and he dominated across multiple levels. Tons of strikeouts. He was always that command artist coming up. Yeah, the walks regressed last year, but we've talked a lot about how that first run through AAA and how that impacts a lot of guys. He really did turn things around. Zach routed off the numbers there this year in AAA before he made his major league debut. And also coming into this year, I feel could we see him as a starting pitcher in this rotation moving forward? Probably not. But I think we were all in agreement that you bring Cameron Weston, and they've lowered his arm slot, I think, over the last year or two. They've continued to lower that some more. So they're adding even more funk to this entirely unique profile that he has, this unique delivery that he brings to the fold. And yeah, he's not throwing gas, but he has so many different offerings that break every which way. And if he's following up a guy like Shane Boss throwing 96s and 97s into the 6th inning, you got Kyle Bradish and his velo from his high arm slot. And then you can bring in a guy like Cameron Weston. That's why we've said this could be a role for him in the big leagues, is one time through an order, major league teams, especially this year, when they do bring him up and he gets some opportunity, teams aren't going to know what to do with him that first time that they see him. It's going to take some time to adjust. So I think that can be his role up here in the big leagues. I do agree. I'm curious to see if he does stick around for the full year. I'd hate to see them say like, we need that spot. We use you for a couple of weeks or whatever, but we're going to risk it and DFA you. You do see that with relievers, a couple of guys, every single year, every team, you see this happen. Hopefully Weston is more than that in the eyes of this organization, but regardless, to see his parents, the parents get me every time now. I don't know. It's just the stage of life I'm at, watching my own kids grow up. You're like, man, I cannot even imagine what that must feel like, especially for a kid like Cameron Weston to reach the major leagues. Shout out to you, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to Cameron Weston on his major league debut. And now we will head into our final segment of the night. Last Call, brought to you by Checker Spot Brewing. Located at 1421 Ridgely Street, Checker Spot is not far from Camden Yards, making it the perfect place for a pre- or post-game drink. And hopefully you got out there during this past 10-game homestand. There were a lot of opportunities to do so. But if the Orioles are out of town or you don't have tickets to the game, Checker Spot is also a great place to watch the game. They have plenty of TVs along with good food and drink. Plus, they were open 7 days a week. And a plug here tonight for their upcoming 8th anniversary. That will be on Saturday, June 13th. It looks like it's going to be a fun day, so be sure to check out their social media for more information on that event. And now we will head into our normal shout-out of players outside the top 30 portion of our top 50 list for something they've done recently, whether it's been a good game, a good week, or just something interesting in their stat line that we want to point out. And for that, this week, I will start with Bob.
Yeah, I got a couple interesting players on different levels of the spectrum. We got DJ Layton. I'm going to bring him up once more. He's getting a lot of these nods here until he inevitably is going to be a top 30 player if he keeps it up. I thought he had a fantastic week, and not even just a week. If you go back to May 20th, before that day, he had a 35% strikeout rate, 19.4% walk rate, 134 WRC plus, 815 OPS. So still was making it work, even with all that swing and miss in his game. But obviously it's not a huge sample size, but 39 plate appearances since May 20th. His walk rate is 15.4%. And the strikeout rate is 15.4%. The walk rate is still very good at 17.9%. It's an 868 OPS, 136 WRC plus. Just love to see the, maybe it's just a blip in the radar, but hopefully it's him continuing to make better swing decisions and get more contact on the ball. So I just like seeing that strikeout percentage come down and not affect his walk rate at the same time. So continue to love what DJ Layton is doing at the plate. And for my pitcher, I'm going to go with Kevin Velasco, who made a rehab appearance. I don't know if it was a rehab appearance or if he's just going to be on the FCL and he's working his way back, but he did make an appearance, a 1-inning appearance today. Turned 20 years old in January. This is a 6'1" right-handed pitcher who I'm very intrigued by because in 2024, in the DSL, he had a 1.13 ERA over 40 innings pitched, 2.20 FIP, 2.75 xFIP. Made his stateside debut last year in the FCL, 36 innings pitched, had a 3.75 ERA, FIP and xFIP right in the same ballpark. So to me, this is a very interesting arm coming up here. Struck out a ton of batters in the DSL, less in the FCL last year, but still only 20 years old. Him and Francisco Morale getting healthy around this time, I think, is going to help that pitching depth in the lower minors, and I'm excited to see how he does the rest of the year.
Been another strong week of more guys returning from the injury list, getting put on the injury list across the farm system.
And we signed a guy, Jake Dickoff. Great name.
Got to fit it in somewhere. We had lots of minor league UDFA signings, but yeah, I feel like that's the guy who I think sticks out a little bit more. My top 50, I'm going to stick in high A, and I'm for both my hitter and my pitcher. And for my hitter, I'm going to go one of my favorites from last year's draft class, Colin Yeaman, 4th round pick. It was not a good first month of the year, just a 164 average. 1 extra base hit, 7% walk rate, and a 30% strikeout rate. It was a WRC plus of 24. But last week, he went 6 for 12 with a double and a walk, just 1 strikeout, and he stole a base as well. So 500 on the week. Tied for the team lead, also down in Frederick with 4 RBI. So in the month of May as a whole, though, he hit 288, 4 doubles, a home run. Walk rate went from 7% to 18%, and his strikeout rate dropped from 30% to under 22%, 127 WRC plus. So hopefully that's the sign of better things to come. And same thing with my high A pitcher. Shout out to Carson Dorsey. He had a tough start to the year, not performing at a level I think a lot of people would have hoped to see from him, especially considering how good that stuff is. But he made 1 appearance last week. It was 3 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. But same with Yeaman. It's more about just the monthly progression. He had 15 innings in April. It was an 8.62 ERA, FIP right in line with that. 23% strikeout rate. He walked 15% of guys. In May, 22 innings, a 4.09 ERA, 3.26 FIP. Strikeouts went down a tick to 22%, but the walk rate he slashed to just 7% walk rate last month. So love to see that. And also he allowed 6 home runs in April, all of them in Frederick. He only allowed 1 home run last month, and that was on the road. I don't remember where at, but it was a road outing that he gave that up. So yeah, I think we're going to talk about a lot of guys in the next episode, guys who had rough Aprils, but very good Mays. And these were 2 more to add to that list that hopefully it's the start of something better for both of them.
Yeah, I'll start off with my hitter this week. That's Jaden Loray. Congratulations to him on the promotion to Delmarva, which was announced after the FCL's game today. And he had a fitting conclusion to his run in the FCL, going 3 for 3 with a walk. And just to break down some of the numbers, the 19-year-old infielder appeared in 20 games with the FCL Orioles. And as Nick put out on our Twitter today, this is incomplete data because not every FCL game has publicly available StatCast data, and it does not include today's game. But for the games we have StatCast for, Loray posted a 50% hard hit rate, 105.2 max exit velo, and a 93.6% in-zone contact rate, which is good for the 99th percentile. We had a chance to interview him right before the FCL season started. We know that getting to Delmarva certainly was a goal of his, and he was able to do that after just 20 games. So congratulations to him. And then for my pitcher, I'm going to go with Daniel Lloyd, a guy who I feel like has been shouted out in this segment numerous times over the years. At one point, it looked like the Orioles were going to try to develop him as a starter, but he's pitched exclusively in relief in the last 2 years for Chesapeake, and he's coming off a very good month of May that he capped last week with 2 scoreless outings, including 2 scoreless innings in 1 outing and then a third of a scoreless inning and another one against Erie. And the numbers on the month for Lloyd, as Nick covered on our Substack earlier this week and as we're going to cover in our episode later on this week, were impressive. 1.84 ERA across 10 appearances on the month with 11 strikeouts to just 3 walks while posting a 2.26 average against. And that was after opponents hit 394 against him in the month of April. So Lloyd certainly making big progress in May.
Very excited for the Jaden Loray promotion to Delmarva. It's very parallel. He's not the same player as Nate George, but it's very parallel where spend some time in the FCL at 19 years old, get that bump up to Delmarva with plenty of time to also, just like Nate George, potentially make it to Frederick High A before the end of the season. Love that he's got an awesome hit tool. Seems like he can play solid defense all over the field. And he started walking more as the season went on. Maybe not a ton of raw power, but spraying the ball, hitting it hard enough to get in there for some doubles and triples. So really love the trajectory he's on, and I look forward to seeing the rest of his season here.
And with that, that does it for this week's episode. We're going to be back later on this week to break down our all-prospect team for the month of May. In the meantime, you can check out our many social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Blue Sky. We are also over at Substack, OriolesOnTheVerge.substack.com. And while you're browsing around the internet, be sure to head over to Patreon.com and sign up to become a member today at the $3, $5, or $10 levels. So that will give you access to bonus weekly coverage from Bob, Nick, and myself, monthly updates to our top 50 prospects list, access to patron-exclusive channels within our Discord community, and a whole lot more. So be sure to head over to Patreon.com and learn more about becoming a member today. For Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens and Zach Spedden, you've been listening to Orioles on the Verge, part of the Believe Podcast Network.